No right that you fought for can ever be assumed to stay with you for the rest of your life. You have to protect the rights that you've won.
If I'm going to die, I want to know what it is like to be free.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Crooks. I'm Executive Director of CASCADIA International Women's Film Festival. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this evening for a very special conversation. A salute to our local filmmaker, Satinder Kaur, of the short film Blood and Glory in this year's CASCADIA Festival. She will be interviewed this evening by Margaret Bikman, a local Bellingham arts writer. Satinder is from Bellingham, although she now lives in Los Angeles. So we're really thrilled to have her here to talk with us this evening about her film. Also joining her this evening will be Y.J. Meira, her producer. So you're going to be in for a very interesting and lively discussion. I'd like to first, though, thank our sponsors for the festival, the City of Bellingham, KCTS and Crosscut Magazine, Whatcom County, the Mary Redmond Foundation, and People's Bank. Without all of our sponsors, this would not have been possible. So we appreciate their support, and we appreciate your support tonight as well. Before we start with the film, let's take a look at the trailer.
Can I have a token for the bathroom?
Tokens for customers only.
Just help me out, man.
Policy is policy.
Give me a, never mind, I may have to do this live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this evening's conversation with our filmmaker, Satinder Kaur. Oh, sorry, I'm losing my earplug. And we also have with her a producer, Y.J. Meira, and we also have the actress from the film, Jomarla Melancon. I'm not sure I said that correctly, but I hope I did. Is everyone here?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, all. How are you this evening?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing great. It's Jomarla's birthday, so we're really happy to have her join us during this day. So happy birthday, Jomarla.
Thank you. This is a
Thank you all for being here tonight.
no problem.
we have a lot we'd like to talk about. The movie is so wonderful. I think maybe a good way to start would be for Satinder to, can you give us a little synopsis of the film for the people who haven't seen it yet?
Sure. It's about, so the film is Blood and Glory, and it's about the friendship between two veterans who are both female, and they're living on the streets of LA because they're in this transition between, you know, having left the military and trying to get their life back on track. And the story really takes place over the course of one day as we see these two women face many obstacles that end up testing their friendship. And it's about how they overcome that.
I wonder if you could tell us how was the story inspired? Was it something that is based on personal experience, or was it something that you heard about or someone else's experience? I mean, because it's a very moving piece, I think, and especially when it comes to the realization that there are veterans that have served our country and yet are having difficulties when they get back. These two women are homeless.
Yeah, and you know, I think when it comes to female veterans, people don't think about us, like even right now. So I don't know how many viewers know, Jomarla and I, we both served in the military. Jomarla is a Navy veteran. I was in the Army, and but in my experience, when I tell people, you know, I was in the military, people are always surprised. And part of the problem that, you know, the female veterans face is the fact that people don't even think about us, or they don't think that we exist. So we're kind of the invisible people. And because of that, there aren't as many resources for us as there are for male veterans. This particular story came into being, I wrote it a couple years ago, well, maybe more than 2 years ago, but I live in LA, and we have a huge homeless population there. And I used to volunteer on Skid Row, where a lot of the services for homeless people are concentrated. And one day when I was serving food, I saw a woman walk by, and she had her dog tags on and her army boots on. And, you know, I realized that she was a veteran and she was homeless, clearly. And as she walked past me, I saw this really large blood stain on her back. And it was her period stain. And it really devastated me, you know, because,
Sure,
you know, for me, leaving the military, yeah, it was hard, but I had a lot of resources, and I had family and community that supported me. But I know for a lot of people, that's not the case, you know, and I wanted to write something about a woman who was dealing with that. And so I went home and I started writing what eventually became Blood and Glory. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really moving anecdote. I'm going to introduce now Margaret Bikman, who is a Bellingham arts writer, and I'm going to let her take over from me and chat with the three of you for the rest of the evening. Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you all, and thank you for being at Cascadia. Margaret?
So hi, all three of you. Really happy that you're here, even though you're really not here. Satinder, the themes of storytelling are so important to me. A filmmaker is pretty much a storyteller. And actually, I'm going to ask all three of you what stories in your life have influenced you in filmmaking. So Satinder, maybe YJ, could you tell me a little bit about your story?
Sure. So I live in Los Angeles now, but I'm from Phoenix, Arizona originally. And I grew up, you know, in the arts. I was a dancer, and, you know, I always loved cinema. And I guess I felt like I watched, my favorite movie ever was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I loved that it took me to like another world, and I always wanted to create like the next part of that story or something like that. And it wasn't until I saw there were a few films, I think more so like in high school and college, that I felt like I finally saw people that looked like me on the big screen, and it really inspired me to want to tell more stories, you know, not just on both sides, on both the documentary side, you know, telling nonfiction stories, but also, you know, creating stories like Blood and Glory, which, you know, inspire and educate people about things that matter for humanity.
Mm-hmm. Jomarla, tell me about yourself, your background, where you grew up, and how you got into film.
Of course. Well, I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. My family was very poor. So growing up, I wasn't able to do any type of performing arts or acting or any of that. So for me, to get away was to watch TV. If I wanted to, you know, if I wanted to see a better family dynamic, I would watch Family Matters. If I wanted to be on the beach, or if I wanted to be in California, I would watch Beverly Hills 90210. So for me, television was definitely an escape. And so yes, ma'am. So once I graduated from high school, I went straight into the United States Navy, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. After I was honorably discharged, I used my Montgomery GI Bill to attend acting school. And I was able to use my past experiences growing up to put into every role. So that's why Blood and Glory is so important to me, because I was able to take one of the lowest parts of my life and be able to tell it to you all and share it with you guys.
Wow, that's an amazing story. That kind of leads me into one of my next questions that I was going to ask all of you. How now I'm not sure, YJ, were you in the military too?
I was not.
Okay.
I have lots of family members that are.
Okay, so maybe Satinder and Jomarla, you could tell me how your time in the military has influenced you, especially transitioning from military life to civilian life.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in the United States Navy, we live by the code of honor, courage, and commitment. So when you're in the military, you're kind of programmed to live, you know, how they want you to live. So like I said, once I graduated high school, I went directly into the military. Well, after I was honorably discharged, I kind of felt like I had the rug ripped from under me. So it was kind of like I had to readjust. But also in readjusting, there was I was just diagnosed with depression and anxiety. So once I was out, it caused me to, it didn't cause me to do anything. I kind of like made the wrong decisions. I was actually working at Sears where I was 9 months pregnant, and I ended up becoming a felon because I did end up stealing codes for my child. Now, was that, it's not an excuse, because if I could go back and change it, I would. But at the same time, I felt like I had to re-examine who I was as a person, you know, and it was a very thin line between who I really was as a person and who was I about to become. So in a way, it needed to happen, because if it didn't happen, there's no telling who I would be today. Because I am actually like the only person in my family who lives the right way. Everyone else are like in gangs and drugs and all of that. So I really had to reevaluate who I was and who I wanted to be. And so that's one of the most embarrassing times of my life. So when Sadi came to me with the audition, and I auditioned, it was very personal, and I wanted them to know that this was not me acting. This was me being real, and I wanted to put 100% of myself into the film to deliver it to you guys, so you guys could really understand what Sadi wanted in her movie.
Wow, that's an amazing story. You tell your story so well. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I think the military has kind of the themes of following one's moral compass and loyalty and friendship and honor. And does that carry over to your films? And also, YJ, does that carry onto your films as well? Those themes?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow the very last part of what you said.
Well, the themes of honor and friendship and one's following one's moral compass. How does that play into your films that you do?
Actually, I think because I think I mentioned I have lots of family who have either been in the military or are in the military, and it's always had a tremendous impact on me to see like the emotions that our family went through. But when they would come back and, you know, reacclimate and talk about their experiences, and I'd see, you know, some of their interactions with their friends and the bond that they formed and the loyalty to one another, it's always been something really important to me. Blood and Glory came to me, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point, but when this script came in front of me, I had already worked with Sati before, and she's amazing, and I love her as a person, but we had never worked in this capacity. So I thought it was pretty magical when all of the stars aligned and I had the opportunity to read the script and now help her tell a story that's so important.
Yeah. Sati, tell me about your experience in the military and how it relates to your filmmaking.
You know, being a writer, director, filmmaker, we draw so much from our own experiences. And so being in the military has definitely had a huge impact on the stories that I tell. I was telling you guys earlier before this started that I was writing all day, and the feature film that I'm working on is about a soldier who is having a moral crisis and is wrestling with her moral compass and her duty to her country. You know, even in Blood and Glory, there's a moral crisis with the character of Jackie when she's confronted, you know, with the tampons and that split between how Jackie, in that moment, what Jackie wants to do and what her friend who sees her a certain way, when she sees her, you know, in that moment of moral crisis. And you know, I don't want to give the film away. I really want people to watch it, so I won't give that away. But I think that I characters who find themselves in these situations where what the right thing to do is sometimes ambiguous, given your situation. You know, it's like if somebody's hungry and they steal, or they're starving and they steal a loaf of bread. You know, who is that morally calling out? Is it that person, or is it the society who has put that person in that position, right? So like these situations, and you can argue all sides of that situation, right? And you can make a whole movie on that, you know, I'm sure. And that really interests me, because I think even for myself, you know, I joined the military when I was 18, right after high school. And when I was 21, I was deployed to Iraq. And at that time, I mean, even today, you know, we know that the war was based on a lie. And so it was really difficult for me to go be on that deployment. I was in Baghdad for 1 year, and then coming back and dealing with processing my experience there, and you know, especially when you don't believe in an institution that you were a part of, and you in specifically a war that that I didn't believe in. You know, I don't think it had any moral or just reason, you know, for us to go over there and invade that country. And when you see the devastation and the immense suffering that our actions have brought to that place, you know, you try to figure out, you know, there's your personal responsibility, and then there's the larger responsibility of how you tell that story and how you get other people to be more conscious of the choices that we're making in the way that we vote, in the way that our politicians get away with so many things, right? And how do we protect our country and our values in a way that truth and lies don't just become, everything doesn't just become like gray, right? Like that there is something that is moral and clear and right. And it's been, you know, like I feel like I've spent all of my 20s like wrestling with all of this and a lot of inner turmoil. And it's only now in my like late 30s that I can actually sit back and write about it and make movies about it. Because I think you need distance from these things to process, and because your immediate reaction is just so personal, and then you have to pull yourself out and make it into something that other people can process too, you know?
Yeah. You know, the first scene, one almost think, oh, this is going to be a woman's film, but it's so definitely not a woman's film. But I'm wondering how all three of you, since you're all such strong women and amazing women, how you feel about the idea that women shouldn't be filmmakers or can't be filmmakers or shouldn't be in the military or can't be in the military, and how we can change that idea that some people have. So how can we have, yeah, that's a big concept, big idea, big question, I know.
I'll start. I think that I was lucky that I had a very strong mother, single mother, that since I was a little girl made me feel like I could do anything I wanted to do. So I actually didn't even realize that girls aren't supposed to do certain things or women aren't supposed to do certain things until I got older, probably like in my mid-20s, really. So I feel very blessed, and I would say that that's what I would like to inspire young girls and other women, and also the men who, you know, the amazing men who support us, to not see the barrier, just to believe that they can and they will. And I mean, I think it's clear right here, all three of us have pretty amazing stories, I think, from where we came from, what we've gone through, and where we're at now. And I would have never imagined that this is where I would be, because I didn't know I was going to be a producer, but now it all makes sense. And that's, I think, what it's all about, is inspiring other people to not see the boundaries and to find the tribe around them that supports them.
That's great. That's a terrific answer. Sati, can you tell me a little bit about how you hope to change the world?
I mean, you know, I think we all get to do our part, right? You have to look at the gifts that you've been given in this life. I think whatever field you're in, whatever work you're doing, wherever you are, I think find the organizations, find the individual in your local community who is trying to do this work, and then support them. Or if you don't see anyone, then be that person, you know, start an organization, start a program, get the young women together in your neighborhood and do some sort of leadership training or classes or something, you know. I think especially, I mean, look at us all connected through social media, through the virtual world right now, because we're all in different parts of the country, and yet we're all having this conversation. And so this is one of the coolest things that we have today, is the technological tools at our fingertips to connect, to build communities and alliances, and to seek out other people who are doing the work that we want to align ourselves with, and who, and so, an organization like Cascadia Women's Film Festival, like all the films that they're premiering this weekend, well, these 4 days, watch those movies, you connect with those filmmakers. There's such diverse group of women telling so many diverse stories. It's truly, like, it's such a special thing to be a part of this. Women in Media is a great organization that's actually getting women to make their films, giving us the resources to do it. And so connect with them. I think there's so much work that's being done on a grassroots level, and all you have to do is start looking, and you will find the right people, you will find the right organizations, you will find what it is that you're called to do with the gifts that you have. In your life. Yeah.
Jomarla, it seems like you are on a whole different path than when you started out your life.
Yes. Well, actually, that is a great question that you asked, because I have so much to say, but I'm not going to say a lot. First off, I'm going to say, growing up, I didn't know that I even wanted to be an actor, that an actor wasn't an option, right? So even coming back on my last visit, I told you I was visiting Mississippi. I walk into a restaurant. When I walk into this restaurant, because it's a small town, very country, there's 2 girls to the side harmonizing and singing so good. And I tell them, I say, hey, where's your music? And they're like, I don't have music. You don't want to sing? Well, I never thought about it. So first, I feel like it's our responsibility as older women, older adults, to help push the young people to their goals and to their talents. Because what I see is that a lot of people have talent, but their circumstances cause them to shift. Or we don't have any performing arts schools, so I can't sing, right? And my second thing will be, as women, we have to know how to put a crown on top of another woman's head. You understand? Because I feel like growing up, all I heard was women should be seen, not heard. And we have stories, we have voices, and we have stuff to be told. Of course, there was Martin Luther King and there was Abraham Lincoln, but I promise you, their wives have interesting tales too. So it's our job to ask questions. It's our job to tell our stories, because even now I watch TV, right? And halfway through the TV, you can guess the end, right? But with Sadi's movie, you don't know what's going on, because that's a story that we've never heard, right?
Exactly.
So I feel like as women, we need to help other women. Girl, write your story. Your story needs to be told. And I don't feel like we do that enough.
Yeah. I think that's probably about the perfect ending to this great conversation. All 3 of you, do you have anything more to share? We're just about out of time.
Thank you, Cascadia, for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.